Looks like snow in Florida, but it is not snow. It's actually styrofoam, and it is covering some marshes and coastlines here on the First Coast following Hurricane Irma.
And this could be a big environmental hazard. First Coast News' Justin Clark takes us out into the marshes to explain to us what's going on with all this.
Let's see if I can pull this big boy over.
Kevin Kerrigan is on a St. Augustine dock on Salt Run.
And that's what's causing the problem there.
He's pulling over a 25-foot-long piece of dock, which broke away from a nearby marina during Hurricane Irma. He found it in the water grasses by his own dock right after the hurricane.
In here at high tide.
The lower part of that piece of floating dock is made of styrofoam.
You can see the styrofoam just breaking up as it's sitting there.
First Coast News found many big pieces of floating docks with styrofoam bottoms in Salt Run and in the Intracoastal Waterway after the storm. And that styrofoam breaks up into little styrofoam pebbles.
You can just see it's all microparticles of styrofoam. You can see over here on the shore, they're just all washed up, just floating in and out of the reeds.
Kerrigan has been cleaning it out of his stretch of Salt Run. He's an environmental activist and has worried about what the styrofoam will do to marine life.
And all these look like little seeds or something to eat for a little marine critter or a bird or a turtle or a fish. They just eat them.
Kerrigan is actually taking this issue about styrofoam to the Port and Waterway Authority. He's hoping there may be some funding for emergency cleanup of all of this and also to talk about smarter construction of docks.
There are closed cell foams that'll break up into large chunks, but they won't break down into these tiny little pebbles like we have here. This stuff is where it becomes a problem.
He says floating docks can also be made with plastics and aluminums.
While I feel horrible about what happened and the tragedy that happened to these marinas, and my heart goes out to them, we have to be smarter when we rebuild and make sure that people know that there are better materials out there and that they shouldn't be using this styrofoam.
And while he works to clean up his 100-foot stretch of marsh, Kerrigan says the problem of tiny particles is a big one.
And so I'd like to see this material outlawed as a material to use for floating docks. It's compounding the disaster.
The disaster of Hurricane Irma. In St. Augustine, Jessica Clark, First Coast News, on your side.
Jessica, thank you. And we just learned that the Port and the Waterway Authority just this afternoon authorized $7,500 for emergency cleanup of the floating docks and of all that styrofoam. So that might be a big improvement.
Yeah, hopefully they can get that out of the water.